the Celtics win. What was the score? 120-95. Never in doubt. Spoonie, how's it going, man?
Good. You say never in doubt, but we both know, both of us, when it was a 10-point game at halftime, we're like, oh my God, Mitchell hits 2 threes coming out of half, and all of a sudden it's like a 4-point game. But yeah, professional win, dude. I keep expecting this team to like revert back to the previous versions of the Jays where it's like they just fiddle fuck around with series and make them all go 6 and 7. They came out ready to play, dude. The defense was crazy good.
Yeah, I thought a few times on the perimeter we didn't look as fluid, as in sync, as you'd hope. But second half, for the most part, that was like, well, to start with that example, I don't mean to start off with a bad thing here, but the Cavs found themselves completely unguarded under the basket on 2 separate occasions. One time was Mook Morris, second time I think was Max Strus, and that was because Donovan Mitchell puts like legit strain and stress on your defense, and that is just not something that the Heat could ever throw at us. And so we saw us sort of reacting in real time what that's like defending an actual elite player on the other side of the ball for the first time these playoffs. And that's really just a remark to shit on the Heat more than anything. But the Celtics, absolutely fucking incredible. A couple of things early in the fourth quarter. Donovan Mitchell sits for about 90 seconds, and the Celtics just completely unloaded on them in that time, led by Jaylen Brown. And then zooming out a little bit, the Celtics, they shot 22% from 3 in the first half. Ended the game shooting plus 40%. I think they shot over 50% from 3 in the second half. I don't know what like individual you want to highlight first. Obviously, a lot of the 3-point shooting success can be attributed to Derrick White, who was like Ray Allen, Klay Thompson levels of hot from beyond the arc. But Jaylen Brown, I thought, wire to wire in this one, it was just like, there's our old buddy Jaylen Brown from the regular season, who was incredible, who disappeared during that first round against the Heat and completely carried the Celtics from the beginning of this game.
Yeah, and look, Ben, I hate when we're right, but I think you and I both were like very adamant when we had Tony Pesta on that we think this is a JB series.
Oh, yeah.
And there's nobody who can guard him. Like Okoro is their best perimeter defender. He's kind of on Tatum, and he can't guard Jaylen Brown anyway. He's not big enough. He's just like out-muscled by JB, and he attacked anybody who was, if they tried to put Max Strus on him to open the game, and he was just blowing by Max Strus like nonstop. I think he got like Garland one time on the left side and just went straight to the rim and laid it in. So I have no idea what they do with him. And then the jumper, when that 3 ball is going, like there's really nothing you can do to guard him, even when you have like-sized solid defenders, and the Cavs don't. So, I anticipate we'll be seeing more of this version of Jaylen Brown. And make no mistake, he's now 6 for 6 since elbowing Tyler Hero on that jump shot from the line. So there's something to it, man.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, 5 of 5 from the floor to start this game. 4 of 4 from the line early on. What did he finish from the free throw line? About that as
4
well.
4 for 4.
Yeah. Okay. There you go. Sorry, you just had that. But then started the playmaking. He had that corner kick to Peyton Pritchard, one of Pritchard's only sort of early-ish makes in this one. He heated up a little bit as the game went on later. And then he had the Euro step dump off to Drew in the third quarter as well. So really just perfect to Jaylen. Hitting his free throws, defending incredibly well. Playmaking when the defense reacted to his prolific shooting early in this one. Like he just had the right answer at every turn. Derrick White, holy shit.
Derrick fucking White.
Like, first of all, probably the prime candidate for going at Garland. He seemed to be attacking Garland the most aggressively and just taking advantage of all of those opportunities. And weirdly, not just driving on him every time, but like literally just pulling up and like splashing infinite amount of threes in his face in this one. What'd you think of Derrick White and Spoonie?
Yeah, so I will say, like, a part of me is like, is this sustainable way to attack Darius Garland? Probably. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to say it's not, because he's like 20 of 36 in his last 4 games from 3 or something like that. So like maybe it is a sustainable way, but it feels like we could do a better job than just kind of giving the ball to Derrick and say like, hey, go make something happen. But he made something happen nonstop tonight against Darius Garland. And I just don't understand who this guy is. Like that step, like he went behind the back, step back 3. And then he's just like shaking his head like, you can't guard me. It's like, this is the dude who was afraid to take a jump shot in the NBA Finals 2 years ago. And
Yeah.
now he's playing like Steph Curry. Like, some of these shots are legitimately insane that he's trying, and he's making them. So just, I mean, this is a terrifyingly close game without Derrick White. At one point in the third quarter, we were shooting 21% from three other than Derrick White. Obviously, that came back. Jaylen hit a few threes. Al got one to go. But, we were basically ice cold outside of him. And those are the games where we've been worried. Like, that's the weakness of Missoula ball, is if the threes aren't going, that, teams are going to be close. But it didn't even matter. I mean, he just propped up the offense for basically like the whole third quarter, it felt like.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think the plan was to put up that many threes, like from the Derrick White perspective, at such a high volume. But once the first like 10 went in, he was like, all right, fuck it, I'll just shoot a bunch more. And he finished 7 of 12 from beyond the arc, 9 of 16 from the floor. Had some really nice like bunnies in close as well. 25 points, 5 assists, 0 turnovers for Derrick White. There was a comment in the chat here. Can you guys stay live? Skip the other dudes. No, we're going to be live for another 5 or 10 minutes here until the CLNS Garden report goes. So we'll hop off, and then Jake Eisenberg and myself will be back 1 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for our Celtics late night show. There's a bunch of you in here. I don't want to waste too much time on this because we want to talk about the game before we've got to hop off. But please hit that like button, like this stream. It helps put our show in front of more people. If you're new here, first of all, welcome. Subscribe to the show because it's Celtics content like this. We've got our underrated play series as well coming out weekly now during the playoffs. Celtics content all the time. So please subscribe. Thank you. We talked about Jaylen Brown. We talked about Derrick White. We'll get to Tatum. Got to get to the better performances first. Not that Tatum's was that bad, but Luke Kornet, Spoonie,
dude,
like the best center in the Eastern Conference at the moment in the playoffs. What is this?
I just think so Luke's going to concede those like mid-range pull-ups, but our guards are so good at getting over screens and like lock and trailing and rear view contesting that like I'm comfortable with those shots. Like Garland hit a couple, Mitchell hit a couple. That is not a sustainable way to beat the Celtics. Like Bam just tried that and it didn't even come close to working. And so otherwise, like his rim protection was friggin' incredible. Like Mitchell had some insane finishes on him, but other than that, like nobody could finish over him. And what do you have? 2, 3 blocks and like a dozen altered layups at the rim. And there was a couple times people tried him and he just like said no. He just Dikembe Mutombo'd their ass and we were going the other way. And then offensively, I just really appreciate that Luke has turned into like a poor man's DeAndre Jordan. Like all he does is set screens, roll to the rim, and offensive rebound, but he can actually hit free throws too, which is really helpful.
Yeah.
And he had that one sick, but he caught it in the short roll and he hit Tatum on a cut for, I think, a dunk. That was just like super high level processing from your third string center or fourth string, maybe, depending how you classify Xavier Tillman. And there's just not a lot of teams who have that luxury on the bench, who's a dude that can like read the game at a high level like that and also protect the rim. And he sets great screens. And like, he was just awesome. And his rebounding has been so solid since we were all calling him out in like January. It's like he heard the noise and he's been great rebounding the ball.
He's come a long way, but to see him make like, you mentioned it, playoff level reads on this stage under the brightest lights in, deeper rounds of the playoffs is never not going to be surprising to me as long as Luke Kornet plays basketball in the NBA. What else stood out to you on this one? Like, do you want to get to Tatum's game, or were you surprised at how we attacked the Cavs or how we defended the Cavs at all?
I will say, like, this kind of played out how I anticipated as far as, like, we stuck to drop. Like, Mitchell got hot early when we were just like, that's fine. He's not going to go, like, 10 for 15 from 3, even though... Actually, let me digress for a second. I feel like I never see Donovan Mitchell miss a shot, and then I look at the stats, and he's, like, 12 of, 24, and I'm like, there's no way that's possible. The man has not missed all friggin' game, but... we just trusted, the drop coverage. I think maybe raised it a little higher up after he got hot, but we were still basically in our pretty standard drop coverage, have the guards get high. And then we were doing some of like the weak side help, like darts over and cuts off the drive and then gets back to the shooter sometime, which we did a lot last year too. And I thought defensively we just did a really great job. And then offensively, I think it kind of played out how we expected, right? Attack the mismatches, get the ball moving. But I didn't like the way we were attacking the mismatches in those like middle quarters. But it felt like in the first quarter we did a really good job. Jaylen was very direct getting downhill. And then late third, early fourth, we started to see like those multiple driving kicks, like generate the first rotation against the mismatch, then kick it, then drive, then kick it again. And then that's when we blew the game open.
Yeah, there was some like all-time in like the Jays era ball movement possessions in this game, like multiple ones. One where Luke kind of made like this late flare cut thing, like out towards the free throw line from the baseline, drew the defense away from the driver, who I think was Drew, caught the dump off from Drew, and then immediately ditched out to JB for a wide open, like top of the arc three, which is just one example, but there were so many. We are going to hop off because the guys over at the CLNS Garden Report, the mothership, if you will, have gone live, but myself and Jake Eisenberg will be back in a few hours' time for these Celtics late night shows, so make sure you like and subscribe so you don't miss that. Few other points that I think we just got to touch on very quickly before we jump off. Peyton Pritchard, huge end of the quarter. I think it was the end of the third quarter, three-pointer. He'd been cold to that point. Hits a huge three to just kind of give us that little bit of extra separation to just dull the anxiety from Al, like the fan perspective going into the fourth quarter. Then you see like Al Horford come over to him and like chest bump him and being like, "You're him, dude. You're fucking him," and just like gassing up a little bit after a rough start to the game. I also want to call out the Cavs going zone for 2 possessions in the fourth quarter and just getting completely shat on by the Celtics in a hilarious fashion. Any other points to wrap up on, Spoonie?
I think we got to do real quick on Tatum. Like, I just felt like his shot didn't go in this game. Otherwise, I really liked the way he played. Maybe he could get downhill a little bit more, but I thought defensively he was mostly completely locked in. He was good on the glass, and he had some fantastic passes. So I prefer him to just like not force it. He did seem like a little bit he forced it, but he kind of drew himself back. And ultimately not a great Jason Tatum game, but like I think he was overall a pretty significant net positive.
Great rebounding game. If like that's like his floor, just be an elite level rebounder. Like, okay, we'll take it, given the rest of the roster. Incredible defending game as well. There was a question just to wrap up on from Bob here in the chat. No, that's the wrong one. Bob did ask what we liked most coming off the bench. I think it's Luke Kornet. Hauser, I think, was like fine. Like, he, obviously not much of an offensive burst, but just coming in as like a replacement level wing defender was fine. Sometimes that's all you're going to need from him. And then Peyton Pritchard, you know, he ramped up his production throughout the game. And as a defender and a screen navigator, chasing around screens, Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland, Pritchard was pretty solid and effective on that end for the majority of the game. All right, we are going to wrap it up there. Like I said, we'll be back in a couple of hours, so please subscribe. Head on over to the Garden Report over on the CLNS YouTube channels, and we'll catch you later.
I love the Celtics!